Folks, we have a major problem in our industry. There's a major disconnect. Dealers are upside down. They have all their resources in the wrong places. For example, the internet and phones are the new showroom, but predominantly, definitely for the last 5 years. In addition to that, we spend a tremendous amount of money in marketing and advertising. NADA 2019 data shows that the average cost per sale in advertising is roughly about $640 per car sold. However, that is a farce. That is wrong. I estimate that to be $1,000 to $1,200 per copy. You might think I'm crazy. No, because what dealers do is what's called dealer math or GM math, which is not right math. They add up how much money they spend in marketing and advertising, and then they divide it by how many cars they sold. But that is ridiculous because that's not accounting for any prior customers that were just coming back in on themselves. That has nothing to do with any referrals, any prospects that the sales team or the management team generates. That doesn't account for the fact if you've got a hot franchise like, Ford or Honda or Toyota or Chevy. I mean, don't you think that people are going to come in, or people that can't get approved and they're desperate going from dealer to dealer? There's some gimmies that are going to happen. I'm not saying that all your cars come from there, but I would estimate that probably 30 to 40% of your cars are not true advertisements. So let's put this in perspective. The average dealership spends over $5,000 a month per salesperson, in marketing, advertising, and branding, but the average dealership spends less than $100 per month, less, sometimes nothing, for the average salesperson in training. And so I want to share with you a story from somebody I truly admire. It's Truett Cathy. He's the founder of Chick-fil-A. And I want you to hear the story of the meeting he had. And the title of this is Better, Not Bigger. So I'm excited for you to hear the story about what Truett Cathy said that blew my mind. And then I'm going to explain how it's relevant to dealerships as soon as we're done.
Truett Cathy, founder of Chick-fil-A. Things are going along. They're building these restaurants all over the country. And back in the early 90s, a restaurant came out called Boston Chicken that eventually became Boston Market. You may be familiar with Boston Market. Boston Market was the first competition that Chick-fil-A really ever had in terms of their market value. And Boston Market came out with an IPO, and they had a ton of money, and they started building stores all over the country, and suddenly Chick-fil-A felt pressure. And this is the first time Chick-fil-A had really had any competition in their particular market. So all the smart guys at Chick-fil-A started asking the question, how can we get bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster? So this went on for about a year of discussion. They sent some guys to New York to see how much money they could borrow, to see if they could build more Chick-fil-A's, and Chick-fil-A has very, very little to no debt, and they were going to borrow a bunch of money to keep up with Boston Market, build all these stores all over the country. So this entire discussion that went on for about a year culminated one afternoon at Chick-fil-A headquarters, and a friend of mine was there, and this is the story he told me. He said, we're all sitting around the conference room. Truett Cathy's down on the end. He's in his 70s by this time. He said, and all the young bucks, all the young guys got all these charts and graphs and all these ideas of how we can get bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster. And David, my friend, said, I looked at Truett, and he was clearly not engaged in the conversation, clearly not impressed with what was going on. He said, and for the first time and the only time in my career with Chick-fil-A and with Truett Cathy, suddenly, with all of us young guys with all these big ideas, Truett starts pounding on the table, pounding. He said, and suddenly everybody in the room got quiet. And he said this, he said, I am sick and tired of listening to you talk about how we can get bigger. And then he said this, and here's the quote, this hangs in my office. He said, if we get better, our customers will demand that we get bigger. If we get better, and then he said this, we need to be talking about not how to get bigger, but how to get better. Because if we get better, our customers will demand that we get bigger. And the guy that told me this actually was given a charge to our elders. He was rotating off our elder board, and we asked all of our rotating elders, to say the guys that are rotating off, to kind of give us a last charge. And he said this to us. He said, you know what, North Point, he's talking to us, church leaders. He said, you know what, as big as we are, let's not forget that we need to focus on getting better.
Wow. How mind-blowing is that? Truett Cathy slammed his hand down and said, let me get my jacket open here, slammed his hand down and he said, I don't want to hear that you want us to get bigger, or how we're gonna get bigger, how we're gonna sell more chicken, how we're gonna open more Chick-fil-A restaurants. I don't wanna hear that. I wanna hear, how are we going to get better? Because if we get better, our audience will demand that we get bigger. Folks, that changed me. That made me think a different way. That was a straight pivot when he said that. Dealers, how does that resonate with you? Let me tell you, what you should be feeling right now is stop worrying about trying to just sell more cars. Stop trying to shove people into cars. If you want to really grow tremendously, change your paradigm. Don't focus on trying to just sell more cars or open more dealerships. I know so many dealerships, they have dealer groups. You think that's successful? Volume hides mediocrity. Every real manager or owner will admit that. Volume hides mediocrity. So instead of opening up more stores and having more control chaos, how about focusing on one and making it right? Dan Cummings, Chevrolet in Paris, Kentucky, went from 150 cars to over 1,000 units a month, and they average 800 units a month. Average in Paris, freaking Kentucky. But they did it with culture. So if you follow Truett's words, how can we get better? What does that mean? How can we get better online? From our engagement, how can we get better with our internet department, our BDCs? How can we get better with our BDC reps or internet coordinators? How can we get better on the phones? What I mean by that, the user experience. How do we get better at qualifying, identifying what people's wants, wishes, needs are? How can we get better at meeting them? And how the heck can we get better at exceeding them? Remember, NADA 2019 says that the number one reason why people don't buy cars is because they're landed on the wrong car, which means they weren't qualified the right way. They weren't TO'd the right way. We need to get better. How can we make the user experience better? How can we focus on getting our team better? I don't know. How about we start developing our greatest assets? How about we start changing our paradigm and start putting the resources where the business is at? If the internet and phones are the new showrooms, start redirecting all the crazy amount of revenue and time and put it to where everybody is at, folks, the internet and phones. And instead of pissing money out the door in marketing and advertising, get better at CRM. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. The R in CRM stands for relationships, and 90% of CRMs suck, are broken, or not utilized and not held accountable. Stop making excuses for your employees. Stop making excuses for yourself. If you truly want to be the best or be bigger and make the most amount of money, then get better. Get better at everything that you do. Well, what does that mean, Sean? I don't know. Figure it out. Fitfo. Figure it the fudge out. You need to find out all the areas that are broken, all the areas that need to get better, and focus solely on those things, because I promise you, like Truett Cathy said, if you get better, your audience, your prospects, your clients will demand that you get bigger. Oh, that's not going to work. How do you know? You've never tried. Do it. Believe it. Live it. I'm out.
If you like the information you found here, then you will absolutely love Bradley On Demand. Bradley On Demand is the most comprehensive, in-depth virtual training platform in the automotive industry. We teach you everything from internet sales to phone sales, F&I, and everything in between. So sign up at www.bradleyondemand.com.